What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Cat Magnet, and today I'm going to review The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus. Not Albert Camus, Albert Camus. So let's start things off by calling Galileo a pussy. Which is what Albert Camus did not do in this first page. He actually defended him for standing up for, well, not standing up for himself, but denying what he believed in. Like, when the Catholic Church found out about the, round globe, they freaked out and threatened to kill him unless he admitted he was lying. But he lied, and I think he's a pussy for not defending his morals, but Albert Camus says that your morals aren't worth your life. And what he also says is there's three options in life. There's suicide, there's denial, or you can just live with the absurd. No, everyone knows what suicide is. He says not to do that at all. Later in the book, it's kind of confusing early in the book, but what the absurd is, it's when you figure out that nothing matters and you get that giddy feeling. He describes that as the absurd, compared to being in denial, which is religion or something spiritual, veganism. And he says that people who are in the denial, they live such boring lives, and that's the most of the population. They go to work 9 to 5. They're carbon copies of each other. And he also said one thing he says about the meaning of life is it's different for literally every creature. The meaning of life for a cat is not the same as the meaning of life for a human. Because the meaning of life for a cat is just crawling around, catching mice, having a great time. I know I have 3 cats. A black cat, an orange cat, a white cat. They are amazing, and their life is kind of boring, but they seem entertained by it. One thing he does is he talks about the existentialists, and then Kierkegaard too. I probably butchered Kierkegaard's name, but whatever. He goes to the existentialists. He says that they actually believe in a God, which is themselves, and proving everyone wrong is their religion, because they just care about their intellect so much. And what he says about Kierkegaard, I don't agree with that much. Except for the part about nostalgia. He says that nostalgia affects the old man and changes his beliefs to what it was in childhood. And I thought that was a pretty good point, because I see it everywhere like that. Don't ask me for examples, but it's obvious. A quote in this passage was, "Seeking what is true is not seeking what is desirable." I thought that was, kind of lame, because you could make your own truth if it's what you want to be desirable. It's subjective, it's not objective, like Camus says. One other quote he says here is, "What is called a reason for living is also for dying." And I agree with him full-heartedly. If you find a reason for living and then that's taken away, you would die to get that back. For example, freedom in the American Revolutionary War, many people died because they got a taste of what they loved, and they're willing to die for something to love again. Then he discusses the abstract artist, and I thought this was the most interesting part of second part of the whole essay. He talks about how an abstract artist, they can't have any motivation except for that art. They can't try to influence people like most artists do, or politically, religiously. They just make a piece of art. And I think his short novels, The Fall and The Stranger, are both perfect examples of like absurd pieces of art, because there really is like, it just is absurd. You have to read them to find out. I recommend The Fall over The Stranger, an unpopular opinion, because I found The Fall extremely boring for the most of it. The last 10 pages really made it worth it. It was crazy. Then The Stranger, everyone knows The Stranger, I won't even talk about it. And Albert Camus says, when you embrace absurd, you can do whatever you want. It's freaking sick, bro. Like, he pulled, we all know he drove sports cars all around. He died in a car crash because he's badass. What can I say? He's who every teenage boy aspires to be. That's why he's like the teenage boy philosopher. And then part of life is, well, part of the absurd life, not the normal life. Part of the absurd life is revolting. Not like gross. That is revolting. I won't go near that. As in like a revolution, like starting like do whatever you want. Except he also says don't be childish, because just why be childish? I don't know why he has that. I think you can be childish and absurd. I consider myself childish and absurd. But what I mean by that, what he means by that, and me, because I am copying him, is that like, once you embrace the absurd, just do whatever you want. Just, first of all, morally correct, not kill or rape people. That's, no. I mean like, try to steal like pieces of art, just try to like, just become a criminal without hurting anyone. It's just do something fun, something you never think you'd do before you embrace the absurd. Because that's how you experience life to the fullest. And it's a lot more fun that way. If you just don't really care about what others like perceive, then you can do whatever. And that was like a Tumblr quote, I apologize. And I'm sorry, I wrote down notes and my handwriting is just terrible. It's not good, but that's okay. Then he talks about how every small experience is what makes life worth living. And that's why the reason not commit suicide. Like, the one example that like he really likes is the warm cup of coffee every day. That's the meaning of life for him at that point. Just that enjoyment of that day is why he's carrying on. The small enjoyment. And I think this is especially relevant to our times, because we have so much that others didn't. Like, even the homeless now are better off than the middle class 200 years ago. Because they have like, 300 years ago, the normal person probably never heard music in their life. Well, good music, not like bam, 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 bam. But like, good music, you get me. And we have to be conscious of the experience. Because the modern man, that's the difference between the modern man and the absurd man, is that the absurd man is conscious of all experiences, and he goes through everything with stride and takes it all. Even if it's bad or good, he knows that the bad will help him appreciate the good more. One interesting thing I liked about this was he referenced Hamlet and the actors for Hamlet. They live a life inside the play, and actors are like the ultimate absurd man, because they just live so many lives, and if they truly believe that they're that person, they can be that person, and they die on the stage, and that's like living a full life. Again, I'm in circles here. Here's some quotes in a row to get me out of my ruck. One must live with time and die with it, or else elude it for a greater time. This quote really spoke to me, because if you care about time too much, that you'll perseverate over it. You'll be stressed out. But if you don't, You can make time your bitch and just do whatever you want. It's whatever. Just go, man. And the individual can do nothing, yet he can do everything. This is, inspiring. It's self-help book stuff, so it's good. And then one interesting thing he does is, at the end of the book, he says every man has told himself he's equal to God. But in the beginning of the book, he says every man has thought about suicide at one point. And I found that an interesting contrastion. Just because he sort of contradicts himself there. Doesn't he? And then another quote is, the greater demands a man puts on himself, the greater that man is. So if you have a lot of goals, then you're a great man, according to Camus. And my favorite part of the whole essay was the story of Sisyphus. If you're unfamiliar, his wife died, so he got really upset and I think he killed himself. I'm not sure. He didn't brush up on that in the essay. But he escapes the underworld and he goes to a beach and enjoys life to the fullest for the month he's at the beach. Every sense is fully intact with his surroundings. But then when the gods punish him, they make him push a big stone up a really steep mountain for all of eternity. And then what Camus says is he believes that Sisyphus was happy. And this made me think a little bit, because I could never imagine doing that. Because I may be jacked, but there's a limit. But what he compares it to is the modern man who goes to work every day, like Sisyphus pulling up the stone, and his only reward is the break from work. And they seem to be happy. The modern man seems to be happy in his denial. But Sisyphus accepts his fact where he is, and he makes the best of it. He also brushes up on this in The Stranger, when he's in prison. And then he finally understands why his mom would marry someone at the nursing home, because happiness can be found anywhere. You just have to trick your brain pretty much. Well, not trick your brain. You have to make the best of the situation, because as humans, we feel a certain limit of happiness, and you can feel that limit anywhere. He describes in The Stranger of being under a log and staring up into the sky and being happy whenever a bird passes as the highlight of the day. And that person would be as happy as a king, who the bird passing would be the same achievement as conquering a new kingdom. And that just really stuck with me. Then, the end of this was kind of stupid. It ended just explaining Kafka and how he was absurd until he killed himself, and that it was kind of stupid. I hated it. Okay. Goodbye.